The tried and true 70 to 200mm lens. Considered one of the go-to options for professional photographers, it covers an essential telephoto zoom range. Canon's new RF 70 to 200mm f2.8 IS USM Z lens modernizes the classic zoom lens for the RF system and turns it into a high-performance hybrid lens ideal for both sports, journalistic, and portrait photographers, along with videographers and filmmakers who need a declicked aperture and controlled focus breathing. But wait, you're probably asking yourself, didn't Canon already release a 70 to 200 f2.8 on the RF mount? You'd be correct, but this isn't the same lens. What we have here is an internally zooming lens, available in both black and white, and designed with hybrid use in mind. This is in contrast to the telescoping design seen on the previous version, which required more twists to open up and lacks the hybrid features we're about to get into. The black version in particular might remind you of another recent Canon lens, and that's because it literally shares the same body design as the RF 24 to 105mm f2.8L. Much like that lens, this new 70 to 200 has a constantly declicked aperture that can be set to camera body control by setting it to A. This is a plus for anyone shooting video and continues the hybrid approach of the Z series. So we took some time with the lens, mainly focusing on portraiture and street photography, not only to test out its optical performance, but how it felt in use. Even at the 70mm end, you get the kind of compression that lends itself to more flat compositions that really show off the texture details in the walls and door. And if you move in just slightly, you can already see some clear subject separation with a smooth fall off into the background. In harsher light, the high contrast edges are clean and free of aberrations, while skin and surrounding colors are rendered in faithfully warm tones. And with a constant f2.8 aperture, close-up detail shots can have razor-thin focal points, but the color is outstanding all the same. Going down the focal range though, at 200mm, you can capture some gorgeously compressed images that put the subject at the center of the moment. The buildings and trees, not to mention the dappled lighting, turn into smooth, circular bokeh that can put the subject into a dreamy surrounding. Not to forget video though, we had to check out the focus breathing performance and AF tracking. This is an area where a video-centric lens needs to excel, and a telephoto lens in particular can sometimes exhibit dramatic shifts when focusing that, ideally, you'll be able to avoid. Thankfully, the new 70 to 200 is a huge improvement over the previous lens when it comes to focus breathing, and it's truly impressive how smoothly it can transition from foreground to background. For documentary and ENG work, this lens makes the traditional over-the-shoulder shot feel smooth as silk. AF tracking is also critical, especially for event work, and it works phenomenally on this lens. But if you combine that with the declicked iris, you can adjust your exposure on the fly to counter any changes in natural light. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the lens itself, because even though it uses what some might consider a more traditional approach in its internal zooming design, there are actually a lot of new things happening here. For one, Canon doesn't typically release these long telephoto zooms in black, but now you can get this lens in either black or white. We use both in our tests, but if you want the classic Canon telephoto white for your sports photography, it's there. And if you'd rather be a little more inconspicuous on set, it's available in black too. If you look back at the 24 to 105mm f2.8L released earlier this year, this is exactly the same body, to the point where you could easily mistake one for the other. That means the length is equal at 7.8 inches with a diameter of 3.5 inches. The weight doesn't match, of course, due to the difference in internals, but it's a surprisingly light lens for what it is, coming in at around 2.45 pounds. Also in line with that lens is the 82mm filter thread. Another thing the design brings is a reduced throw range on the zoom ring. You can essentially go from 70 all the way to 200mm with the turn of a thumb. It doesn't require multiple turns to open the lens and then zoom in, which is a huge benefit for fast-paced shooting. On the side though, you'll notice screw threads and electrical contacts, and these are for Canon's PZ-E2 and E2B power zoom adapters. Again, this is just like the 24 to 105, and it allows you to add a zoom rocker to the lens, perfect for videography use. So that's it for our time with Canon's RF 70-200mm f2.8L IS USM Z lens. The optics result in some remarkably detailed yet pleasingly smooth photos, and it's likely to be a go-to option for pros out there. The return to an internally zooming design is sure to please both sports photographers in particular, who need to act fast, and videographers who need a constant balance for something like gimbal use. But as always, let us know in the comments below how you could use this lens. I'm Doug with B&H, and I'll see you next time.